All right, is that us, buddy?
That is us.
Oh yeah. There's the music. There's a production value. I like it. Well, hey everybody, you are actually at the first This Pink Cloud,
The maiden voyage.
webcast, podcast, whatever you want to call it. And my name's Kelley Reverb. This is the Professor Nolen over here.
Yeah, the Professor Nolen. You got to get all three words in, otherwise I won't answer to it.
That's right. Exactly. And basically our show is all about sobriety. So I have a little something written down. We're here to help people obtain and maintain sobriety. So I'm sure that's going to touch a lot of people. If it doesn't touch you directly, it will touch someone you know. And
yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, getting sober is something that's not easy to do, and it seems like the best way to do it is with a lot of help. So we're here to try and help people get that help. Not everybody knows how to get it, where to get it, and we do have some knowledge in that area. So.
we are not accredited, and we do not, the disclaimer, we do not claim to be that, but we do have a lot of life experience, for sure, and you'll hear about that.
Speak for yourself. I have many self-appointed titles. So,
all right. So, well, I guess what do you want to start off with? Getting to know a little bit about us, or do you want to start off with why we came up with the concept This Pink Cloud?
Yeah, I think that's a good start. So, This Pink Cloud. If you've ever been in recovery, then you may be familiar with the term. But to explain it to those that haven't been, the idea is when you first get sober, a lot of times people get very excited that they are back in life.
Actually functioning and being able to do stuff.
That they are out of the prison of addiction for however long they've been in it.
True that, dude.
And that term is called the Pink Cloud. It's just a little pet name that's given to it, but I think it describes both Kelley and I pretty well.
And I mean, it's definitely a slang term, if you will, kind of maybe in AA circles they use it, but I'm big on slang and having my own language, so you'll learn to know that.
Sure. But yeah, that's what it means. It's basically just sort of riding the high of not being high anymore.
True.
And yeah. So that's the idea behind the title. It's funny. Both Kelley and I actually met in treatment not too terribly long ago, a handful of months ago. And
I can give them the exact date, dude.
I'm sure you can.
It was July 12th. Actually, was the first day I came in. I don't know if you met me that day. I might have been in my room in the fetal position.
I think I met you in the middle of the night, coming out to smoke a cigarette and see what had happened, what had become of you. Yeah, I mean, we met in treatment and just kind of hit it off, and have managed to both stay sober since leaving, which is an important part of treatment.
Knock on the wood, for sure, brother. So this is all part of it, actually. So us, trying to help you is definitely helping us, because, a lot of people, and I want to bring this up at the beginning, a lot of people think rehab is a dirty word, and it's not at all. I mean, it's, alcoholism and addiction is considered a real disease by the CDC. And, like I always say, it's, like going to the doctor. If you have cancer.
It's not like going to the doctor. It is going to the doctor.
Right.
They have doctors there.
That's true. True that.
And getting sober, depending upon what you've been doing and how long you've been doing it for, really needs to be approached medically in a lot of ways. If you just try and wing it on your own, you might be in more trouble than you
I
realize.
agree. Yeah, that's another thing we need to touch on for sure, is people, they don't realize like that, it's dangerous. Depending on your level of addiction, it's dangerous to stop just on your own cold turkey. So definitely take that with precaution if there's anybody out there that's trying to do that. And, for me personally, I just couldn't do that. I mean, I would get the old 2 or 3 days under my belt, and then it was just, let's get a drink.
Yeah, I was I was about 0 for 1,000.
Yeah.
In the
oh no, I still got this, dude.
In that ballpark. But yeah, I mean, it's just it's kind of going back to what I said earlier. You know, there is help out there, and there is absolutely no reason to do this on your own.
Right.
If this is what you're trying to do, I think that part of that stigma that you're talking about comes from this weird delusion that a lot of alcoholics and drug addicts live in, that not everybody knows what's going on. You got to be honest. Most people probably know what's going on to one degree or another, and people that care about you, all they care about is you getting help.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And help is out there, and we'll talk about that in this episode and in many other episodes. But real quick, Kelley, why don't you give a little background on sort of what brought you into treatment, what brought you to the idea of even getting sober in the first place?
Well, funny you asked that, Nolen.
Yeah, that is funny.
So basically, you know, I went in begrudgingly, honestly.
Yeah.
You know, I was, let's just say, prodded by my wife, lovely Waverly. Out there, I just want to give her a shout out. Love you.
A gentle nudge, I'm sure.
Yeah, and she was, you know, she definitely stuck by me through this, so, and I greatly appreciate that. And I'm just gonna get misty real quick.
Yeah, that's gonna happen.
no, but so she, you know, she definitely had some, I guess, force behind me to get the help that I needed. And I'm glad I went in and did it, because I actually was going to go in and just pump the brakes and, oh, dude, I can just dial it back and then I'll get out and I'll socially drink, because that experiment always works.
Just a real quick notion to kind of touch on that's a lot of people's plan.
Yeah.
It's very easy to think, you know what I need? I just let it get a little out of hand. I need to rein this back in, and then I'll come at it with a little bit better approach next time. And also rarely goes well. If you want to get sober, then it helps to stop drinking and doing drugs. That's an important part.
By the way, that's a key.
Yeah.
That's a key. So... But yeah, so basically, you know, I got through my 30 days, and I mean, I was telling my, you know, in-house counselor, you know, I'll just maybe stop drinking and, you know, all that. And then I got out, and, you know, with that little window of clarity, I was like, well, Kelley, let's see. Let's do the math. You've been drinking for 25 years. Some of those years successfully, but then
whatever that means.
Yeah, right. we had a good relationship.
I successfully
for a while.
Put it into my body.
Right.
That part happened.
And then and then you know, I was like, well, let's, you know, give this sobriety thing a chance. Yeah. And it's been amazing. What's happened, and like I always like to say, you know, how a little clarity affects your reality. You know, I mean, directly. It's just like leaps and bounds how, you know, your brain actually works when you're not drinking and, you know, using. So.
Yeah, I mean, and probably of all that I just heard you say, to me, what sticks out is the most important part is once you had that clarity, once you had that notion, you then followed through with it.
Oh, yeah. You just can't go, oh, well, that's a nice thought. And, you know, definitely, and we'll get into this a little bit more, kind of the process, what I use and different other people use as far as that.
Yeah.
But now let me go ahead and
bounce it back
to you. Let's hear... I mean, I don't know if we can get the whole story in, because it is
zero chance.
Yeah,
zero chance.
But
the sordid tale that is my life.
Let's get the 10-cent tour of Nolen's reasoning behind sobriety and whatnot.
Well, reasoning behind sobriety is probably pretty simple. I mean, I was dying. It was not far off.
Sure.
But I'll try and give like you said.
Weren't you at 112 pounds, right?
At one point, I was down at 108, actually.
Oh, nice. Sorry, I don't want to.
Yeah, I don't want to sell me short.
Yeah, right.
That diet was going well for me. 6 foot 108, no big deal.
Yeah. And beautiful hair too, right?
I'm
from
sure it
what
was.
I hear.
I'm sure it was beautiful.
Little stringy.
I'm sure
little
I thought it
surfer
was
action.
beautiful.
Yeah.
That reminds me of a story we don't have time for. But anyways, no, I mean, a quick recap. I started using drugs when I was about 12 years old.
Wow.
Started like most people do when they're young with pot and things like that.
How old are you now?
I am 38.
Okay, 38.
I got access to pain medications and muscle relaxers and stuff like that at a very young age too. They were just in my house for medical reasons, and I took them for non-medical reasons. You know, by the time I was 14, I was fully addicted to pain medicine, smoked pot every day, and drank as often as I could. 14-year-olds can't drink every day.
Right.
But I was a resourceful one, so as often as I could.
Yeah, you were good.
You know, I mean, it just kind of took off from there. By the time I was 15, I was putting whatever I could into my nose. By the time I was 17 or 18, I started sticking needles in my body. And that didn't go very well at all for me.
Sure, yeah.
And what you were
It did the first 2 times, though, right?
Well, I mean, I guess it just means, I mean, it was effective. Like I successfully put it in my body.
Right.
No, I mean, I was just out of control. Some of it was being young and crazy, and most of it was I was fully addicted to drugs and alcohol well before I realized I was.
Well, now, and you also had a window where you were sober.
Yeah, so I got sober. I mean, it just went downhill fast for me, and my life was out of control on a lot of levels, and I'm sure we'll talk about it more and more in future episodes. But by the time I was 25, I had been trying to get sober for 2 or 3 years. And you know what? That's an important thing to point out. It's not easy to get sober. Some people have to try multiple times.
Sure.
The point is, don't give up trying. I didn't give up trying. I mean, at times I guess I did mentally, but I kept trying. And I did get sober when I was about 25 years old, stayed that way for about 7-8 years, somewhere in that range. I don't know the exact time frame.
Right.
And then fell victim to the idea that a lot of people do, that drugs were the problem.
Not alcohol.
Drugs were the problem.
Right.
The drugs were the issue. I was just young and crazy. Now I'm a grown man. And you know what? If I want to drink, I'm going to do that.
Sure.
And fast forward 8 years later, job gone, wife gone, house gone, trying to get sober again, trying over and over to get sober again. And then I guess through some miracle that I don't have a proper explanation for, have managed to do that.
Right.
And have stayed that way now for, I guess we're getting close to 5 months, about 4.5 months.
I have my 4-month token over here to award to myself.
And still trucking, and no intention of looking back.
Well,
So,
cool. Yeah, I mean,
hopefully we stay that way.
I agree. So yeah, this is definitely, you know, reality TV, if you will.
Yeah.
I mean, because we're just 2 guys, you know, trying to obtain or maintain our sobriety.
And I think it's really cool because we kind of cover both sides of what is a pretty common story for alcoholics and drug addicts. Yours being that you drank and enjoyed it and never even really entertained the idea of quitting until after you had.
Yeah.
And then you got some clarity, looked back on it. I am the flip side of that coin where I wanted to quit all the time and just couldn't pull it off.
Sure.
But kept trying, kept going to treatment, and eventually it sticks. And, you know, if you're out there struggling, I don't know which one of those 2 you'll be.
Right.
But the common thread in both of them is seeking treatment, seeking help, and giving it your best effort.
Yeah, and actually wanting it and taking the steps to get it done.
Sure.
And I mean, you know, a lot of people are, okay, well, I'm not ready to just do the rehab thing. I can quit myself, you know.
Yep.
A lot of people are in that headspace, whereas, you know, I mean, that's where I was. And then once you do it and go to rehab, and I'm glad I did, then, you know, you have that time away from alcohol to where you go, oh, okay, this is how everything's supposed to work.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's amazing how much it changes your brain. And anyways, I just wanted to say thanks to JP, Kathy, and the crew. We're honored to be here with you guys. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Love you, kid.
Love you. This is going to be a lot of fun, and, keep touching on that rehab thread. It's actually kind of funny. The guest we have today is a mutual friend. I think we can call him a friend at this point.
I think so, or maybe a homeboy even.
A homeboy indeed.
Yeah.
And he is the president and director of a treatment facility.
Right. Which we're very proud of because they are a sponsor.
Yeah.
And they are called Summer Sky, and they're actually out in a little town called
Stephenville, Texas. Stephenville, Texas. The best rehabs are the ones out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, of course.
I really mean that. They are.
Right.
I have a bit of a Yelp reviewer of the rehab.
Oh, right? Yeah, and we'll get into that. And, if you guys also just want to throw this out there, if you guys have any questions as far as, that you want us to answer in a future time, we'll be doing more of a live stream coming up soon.
Yep.
But, just throw it out there. That we're easy to get a hold of all over Facebook, and Nolan's got his email, which should be right somewhere
on the screen. Yeah,
right.
Questions for us, questions, about help that you might need.
Yeah, or just like a simple hey, how do you talk to somebody about getting them into rehab, and and maybe how we could help them assess their personal situation, because everybody's at a different level of either denial or acceptance. And
and I want to point out, we have some experience, but we will not give you advice that we can't give. Let's put it that way.
Right.
And there are a lot of professionals that do this for a living, have done this for a living for a long time. Our guest today is one of them. He's been doing this for a long time. And but we can get you in touch with the right people.
For sure.
What we don't know, we know someone who knows it.
Exactly. So you want to go ahead and pull up Scott here? Mr. Scott. Oh, there he is. The beautiful Scott Kelley. How are you, brother?
All right.
Cool. So here with Nolen, the Professor Nolen, by the way. You didn't even know his name, did you?
Yeah, he knows me by my birth name.
Right. So what's going on at the you're not at the facility today. I can tell you're at your house.
No, I'm in my living room
right now. Right. So we're having a little bit of a latency. We're figuring that out.
I just want to get that monitor on right there. That way we can see Scott.
Exactly. So I'm not looking back here the whole time,
Indeed.
looking there.
Even though you got a cool hat on and everything.
That's true. I do, don't I? Yeah. One of always. But so Scott, like Nolen said, to just recap, Scott is actually the president and CEO of Summer Sky out in Stephenville, and he actually I pretty much know him from the big book class that he taught, which I always like to bring props. This is what they refer to as the big book, in case you didn't know, which is the Alcoholics Anonymous book.
Yeah. A lot of books out there as far as recovery is concerned. That is kind of the one that kick-started many of them. But, a lot of good books out there. That's certainly one of my faves. But, Scott, before we even get started, just want to say thanks for coming on, man. It's good to see you. Always good to see you. And thanks for what you did for me, if we're not before we get started. I've got another shot at this deal because of what you did for me. So thanks for coming on.
No problem. I love to be with you guys.
Well, so I guess why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about your story, so how your addiction, how it started, and then basically kind of wind up on how you got to being the head individual in charge at Summer Sky.
All righty.
As many sordid details as you want.
Yeah, I struggled with alcohol, cocaine, methamphetamine. I like to say I was addicted to more. Anything that made me feel real good, or anything that made me feel real bad.
Right.
So that was kind of the issue that was going on with
and
me.
what age was this?
I started drinking at 7 years old, but ended
Yeah.
up really kicking it off at about 15 to 16 years of age. Um, that's where my addiction progressed to greater lengths at that particular point.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I struggled with dealing with um the whole processes of all the different various addictions, trying different addictions to change the way I felt inside. Um, you know, didn't really understand the aspect of the physical part of addiction and how that could actually take place. At the time, if I recall, I just thought, we were doing this because I was doing it because it was fun, it was exciting. I was kind of the allure of the entire escape
Yeah.
was the very first parts of my addiction. Had no idea that quickly and shortly after increasing my dosage of substances that I would find myself in a physical locked position towards substances.
Right. And now you
And
were kind of involved in like the skate punk scene back in the
yes,
day.
I was an amateur skateboarder
Uh
and sponsored by a couple companies,
huh. Right.
and I will spare them the details of that. But at the same time, won a lot of contests, was extremely competitive. I skated with Tony Hawk and a bunch of other skaters and stuff at that time
Uh huh.
period. A lot of famous ones. I did a lot of skating right there in Dallas, Texas, at the Jeff Phillips Skate Park. Won a lot of contests there um, when that was around,
Uh huh.
and went basically all over the United States doing skateboarding and competing in contests and stuff of that nature. And I come from a background where my dad is a professional motorcycle racer, a famous one.
Oh, that's cool.
Um, yeah,
Can
so
you
he's
name
a
drop, or would
so
you rather not?
oh yeah, it's fine. His name was Willard Kelley, and he was I don't know, he was he raced for all kinds of different motorcycle corporation companies, and
Hmm.
I spent most of my life going all over the United States with him. So competitiveness was also in my background also.
You know,
So
it's
very competitive in sports and just overall competitive spirit. Had a principle that I no longer necessarily live by at this particular point, but second place was only just another name for a loser.
yeah,
Yeah.
And
win at all
so,
costs. I
Yeah.
get it. Yeah.
yeah, so win at whatever it took to win, you know. And the problem with that is when you get into an addiction and it starts taking away things like an example, I had an indoor skate park that I had a skate shop, different kinds of stuff of that nature. And what happens is when you don't know that you're dominated by this substance or any substance, it starts dwindling away and taking away your options and the things that you love the most in life. And one by one, it starts to steal your dreams. It starts to steal all of the different aspects of what makes you who you are. So it's the physical aspect is extremely important, but then there's the psychological that starts to take place. And as people are noticing your addiction and telling you stuff like, "Hey, you need to take a look at this. You're not
Hmm.
the same. Your personality is shifting."
Right. You're
Um,
sleeping 14 hours, and
You keep stealing my television.
exactly.
I'd like
right.
to watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of that comes from, not really. I mean, you don't go into using substances thinking you're going to become addicted.
Yeah.
Of
I
course.
mean, you
Yeah.
can tell, most people that touch it, um, they experience the euphoria effect. They look at the positive aspects of it, and what they're getting at that particular time,
Yeah.
out of using.
Hmm.
They don't see the end result, the consequences, and the progression that happens. I think it's interesting that in 1952, the American Medical Association, looked at addictions or alcoholism at the time as a disease.
Hmm.
And when you start to look back at that, one of the things that they noticed pretty much widespread was that this illness was progressive,
Hmm.
and that as time went on, and you continually use the substances, if there's not something that intervenes or stops the person from using the substance, it the physical, the psychological, and the social aspect of it continues to decline over time. And so that process or that progression is one of the indicators that they decided to look at it from a disease perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that they learned really quickly, which I'm grateful for, is they discovered that it's reoccurring, and that if a person just cold turkey stops a substance, the likelihood of not addressing the physical and psychological aspect of an addiction immediately is affected to the point where a person has this compulsion, or if you want to say a mental obsession, to utilize that substance. You know.
So, quick question for you, Scott. When, because I always like to get a timeline. So you were using early. It became a problem more in your teens, and then did you eventually get sober and then relapse, or how did that go?
Yep.
Yeah, I started going to treatment as an adolescent. Family started getting involved. Obviously, at a certain particular point, you can't hide it from others.
Sure.
And so interventions started taking place. People trying to control what I did, how I did it. And I call it intervening. They were doing the best they could.
Oh,
with
yeah.
what they knew at the time.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
The resources that they had was very limited. And so, you know, they started not making it so easy. In other words, not paying for the stuff that I had, because obviously at a certain point in addiction, you start utilizing every type of resource that you can find to fulfill the inside of what's going on inside of you, but also using people in a sense, in a negative sense, because you have to maintain the cost.
Oh yeah,
of the addiction.
and I love that you bring that up, because I just got that I Am Sober app, which I've already checked out what I've saved from alcohol. Even if I just put in a moderate, okay, $20 a day, I'm already up to like $10,000. Like, so I'm like, oh well, that's why I was always in the red.
Well, and I like what you were just talking about there. It goes back to that progression you were talking about, and the cost generally only goes one direction, and that's not just financial. You know, the physical cost to you, the cost to the relationships around you.
Oh yeah,
at
for
a certain
sure.
point,
Yeah.
people get tired of being taken advantage of and just shut you down. Doesn't mean they don't love you. Doesn't mean they don't care. They just can't do it anymore.
Yeah, you just can only take so much.
Yeah.
So yeah. Well, okay, we're done.
So
No.
Just kidding.
So eventually, ended up in a treatment center. It happened to be Summer Sky, the place that I work for today.
Right.
And I remember having a lot of misconceptions, I think, about what I was dealing with, even though the evidence showed that I was completely out of control, socially or with relationships. Even though that was happening, and people were concerned, I just could not get to the denial aspect of it. I couldn't understand how to break that denial open. So I didn't even gather that, hey, you probably need to do this treatment. I was just kind of going because
They told you
that's the
to.
best
Yeah.
idea.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's pretty serious when the interventionist shows up at your house, and
Well, yeah.
and they do the entire intervention process.
So you're saying
And,
that doesn't happen to normal people very often?
Yeah, that's probably not something that happens, is they show up at your house and say you've got a problem. I mean, there's a lot of evidence goes into that research before an interventionist shows up. At your
Yeah,
house.
I think, and I definitely relate to you about the denial factor. I mean, I passed out on the decks on several occasions, and oh, dude, well, I'll just get another gig over here, and it just like I just was. The definition of denial.
Well,
for
and
sure.
it's you build a sort of, and without your consent or knowledge, really.
Right.
At least I build.
Well, alcohol didn't ask me.
Yeah, I
so.
built a sort of rationalization thing going on in my head.
Yeah.
And kind of like what you were just talking about, Scott. I mean, like, it's tough to fix a broken brain with a broken brain. That's why
true.
Treatment and counseling and all of this stuff is so critical. And, we talked about it in the beginning a little bit, trying to quit on your own. Admirable. Not saying it never works. It works sometimes. But success rate wise, that's a big reason why it's not successful, is because.
And then also
delusion.
I would like to, on that note, I'd like to applaud anybody that can actually socially drink. So and good for you.
I'm super jealous.
Yeah,
Very
right.
good for you.
Because we are not those. Folks
enjoy
here.
it while as much as you can, I guess.
Yeah, right. So
go ahead, Scott.
Think about this. Once you get the physical aspect of detoxification started and you get separated from the substances, that's when your mind can start to see what others were actually trying to tell you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like you need a break away from the substances just long enough to have that realization about the truth in yourself related to these substances. So, I mean, one of the things is that separation, it just gives you that time to reflect and look at the reality of what you've been involved in.
Sure.
And without that, you're kind of doomed to repeat the cycle based on the way that addiction works and just the chemical processes that go on in the brain.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I have a lot of friends out there that are doing that are trying on their own, and they're saying, "Oh no, I can just 2 or 3 days and string those together," and then, but it's just for some people it just doesn't work.
And this goes back to the idea of it being a disease, and we wouldn't even call it an idea. I mean, this is a medically researched fact at this point.
Right.
And if you had cancer or diabetes, you wouldn't just sit at home and go, "Hey, I think I'll figure this out on my own."
Right.
Certainly you'd take a few precautions to stop smoking, maybe if it was lung cancer, or watch your diet if it was diabetes, but you'd also go to a doctor and you'd get some medicine and you'd listen to the help that's out there and the advice that's out there.
Sure, and probably heed that advice and actually try to do it instead of just going through the motions. Well, they want me to go to rehab, but I don't want to be here, because I see a lot of people like that. And I know, Scott, you probably see that
for sure
on a daily basis, for sure, of people that don't, that definitely don't want to be there and they're just not in it. I'm like, I actually had to pay it out of my pocket. So I'm like, I'm actually going to take this serious. So.
Yeah. Yes, using the analogy of the cancer patient, the cancer patient, they don't want to do chemotherapy when they start, and neither does the person with the substance use disorder. They don't want to do the processes, but once they find out that and discover that the results are that I can become free, and that there's a possibility that it can be arrested or put into remission, then it's like the individual's like, well, what choice do I have at this particular point?
Mm-hmm.
I can either go back to using, because that's what I'm going to do, or I can try this other approach, or many different approaches to it, and try different treatment options, and I think that's what I discovered through the rehab process. It was obviously there's lots of mistakes and errors that you make in the process of going through the treatment process, because you think one way and you find out that, well, that's not the right way to think. So that's what's nice about having time inside of a recovery center type of facility, is that you can look and say, and look at yourself, examine yourself, and see what will work and see what certain things that don't work.
Well, and then also, one of the good things about being in a facility is, when you're drinking or using, you don't eat on a regular basis, or you just eat really crappy once a day, and, I definitely think, the regimen of, a daily, process in rehab helps, to give you tools to, figure stuff out when you actually get outside.
Yeah, the time for me helped me get my mind right. helped me get my body right, and for me, it helped me get my spirit right, helped me get my soul right.
Right.
There had been some damage done to all three, and all three needed a little bit of a break and a little bit of a recharge before I was ready to come back out to life and deal with all the stresses that come from life.
Sure.
Without what had been my medicine for 2 decades, you know?
Sure.
So, hey, Scott, so how long have you been in the treatment industry, actually working in the treatment industry?
Since 1998 is whenever I actually started working as an addiction counselor. So I've actually been in recovery for 27 years. So, yeah. So
Yay, dude. That's some good
pretty
sobriety.
much to be honest with you, most of my adulthood has been involved with helping alcoholics and addicts out.
Mm-hmm.
That's been pretty much my lifelong goal, is to just help people on a daily basis. I mean, I don't know if I thought that that's what I would be doing.
Sure.
It just became that way. And every time I tried to decide on, well, I think I'll do this or something else, it always kept going back to it.
Mm-hmm.
You know? From schooling to education to whatever, the doors just kept opening up every time I tried to move away from it. It was almost as if
as if a higher power was guiding you.
Yeah.
It's
some sort of
very
force.
interesting, you know?
No, I mean,
Right.
it's a
Like,
calling is what it
Yeah.
is, and is what
you
it
know,
sounds
I
like.
tried to get into computers and, you know, go back to school for that, and, you know, all kinds of different stuff in the business world and things of that nature. And you know, every time I would try that or attempt that, I would find myself back at the treatment side. So finally, at a certain point, you just give up and say, okay, this is what you're supposed to be doing.
Okay, God, I get it. Yeah.
Tired of fighting the battle. Well, what I'm curious, because I've never asked you this before, and I'm just curious for my own, I guess, to satiate my own mind. What do you love about what you do, and then also what do you hate about what you do? Or hate is a strong word. What do you dislike?
Okay, yeah, either one. What I hate is watching the disease conquer people.
Yeah.
That's what I hate about the substance use disorders, is the fact that sometimes the consequence has to get so great for some people that to get them to basically give up and try something different. That's frustrating. But it's the part I dislike the most about addiction. What I love about addiction treatment is basically that we have a solution, and it's a way out, and that is and there's an effective way to treat substance use disorders.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that knowing that when I watch, like I remember watching an adolescent go through treatment, and watching, she became a doctor, you know.
Oh, wow.
So I know she's out there helping, you know, so many people because she got sober at a young age. When I see an older man that's been doing this for 50, 60 years come back around and start to reunite his family and participate in his life,
Sure.
the success that happens with him.
And I love that. Participate in your life.
Yeah.
I mean, because really, you don't even realize it, how sneaky alcohol is, the ultimate slow play alcohol.
Yeah.
But, you know, you don't even realize that you're disconnected from your life and how good you have it because you're just in a fog.
Yeah, and I totally agree. Watching that kind of stuff's better than anything I'm going to find on Netflix.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh,
seriously.
Yeah.
Watching people be reborn.
oh yeah,
know?
for sure.
But yeah, I was just curious.
Every day is different. You know, when you're working with people with substance use disorders, there's nothing. There are some similarities and some stuff from faces to different people. There's some similarities there, but there's so much individuality with people and the creativity, you know, that comes out in them, and watching them reconnect to those areas of their life is amazing. You know,
Well, and it's got to be satisfying that you were a part of that process as well.
Yeah, you're not, you're just kind of a guide.
Yeah.
That's the best way to put it. But at the same time, you've got to help them, see the truth about them and them their addiction.
Sure, and they have, and I'm speaking to whatever camera, but you have to be honest with yourself, because hey, guess what? You're an alcoholic. You're an addict. Don't fool yourself, man. If you've got the signs, if people are telling you, if you're passing out, blacking out on a regular basis, waking up when you don't know where you are,
Yeah.
you got a problem. Okay, so be honest, and let's start taking some steps towards fixing it.
A great experiment to answer that question for yourself is try and stop.
Yeah,
Try and stop.
Exactly.
Try your hardest. Either
Yeah.
you'll be successful and do stop, which is great,
Yeah,
or you'll be unsuccessful and you'll get the answer that
Yeah.
you're looking for.
yeah.
And then if that happens, there's help available.
Speaking of
Summer
that,
Sky in Stephenville is a great place.
I was going to say that. Yeah, let's get some. Do we have his contact info up on the screen? Can we get it up there? It's basically, I'll give it to you real quick. It's the www.summersky.us, correct? And that's the website. And then we're going to get a number up there for you. Garrett, you have that number?
I've got it right here. It is.
And this will be the number to actually admissions over at Summer Sky, and a couple of beautiful ladies work there that we know. My favorite, Pat. Oh, Patsy. Yeah.
I like Patsy a lot. I like Hakeisha too.
Hakeisha's cool.
But the number there is 1-888-857-8857. And we'll give that out again at the end of the show as well. And
yeah, that's if you want to, get in touch and, get under this man's tutelage, if you will,
Well,
because hey, so far so good with me and Nolen.
Yeah. Well, no, and honestly, it kind of touched on it earlier. I've been to a few treatment facilities. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, what I appreciate about what you guys do there is treat us like adults, treat us like humans, and that everyone in the staff is always willing to stop what they're doing and just talk, whether it's about nothing or something serious. I mean, I've had conversations with the housekeeper there that were important, with the guy cooking that were important to me looking back on him. So I really appreciate just the way that all of you guys approach.
Well, and I love
job.
it. I love it at Summer Sky. What I gather, it's kind of more of a personal, family vibe, whereas you're not just a number. You know what I mean? At some of the other places. So I definitely appreciate that, and I think I respond to that format better.
I think most people do. I mean, Scott, you can kind of touch on it. I think you probably find most people do.
Oh, yes. I mean, definitely the family-like environment is definitely more appealing than the institutional style of treatment approach.
I just would like to add one thing. I would like to see for the current residents at Summer Sky, I would like to see RA supervised toaster visits. So like where you can actually use the toaster.
He's been mad about this
where
toaster
you can use
thing
the
from
toaster
beginning,
at night if you need to. If you need some toast, you don't have to go to the kitchen and do all that. The RA can go, okay, here, dude,
Eat
make
fruit
your
and
toast.
cereal like the rest of us.
Eat Fruit Loops, dude.
Kelley, are you wanting to set off the fire alarm? Is that what you're wanting
That's
to do?
exactly. No, I'm wanting somebody, an addict that's mad at the facility.
Somebody will.
No, to stick a fork in the toaster.
Somebody will.
That's what I'm trying to lobby for, actually.
Some of the interesting ideas that a group of newly sober addicts and alcoholics can come up with are lots of
right.
fun.
But I was just
and alarms will go off. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Good times. But so how is real quick, just topical? How is COVID affecting the facility?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's I don't think the patients like wearing masks.
Right.
I don't think anybody likes wearing masks.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's one of the things that we're just all adjusting to in this society, right now. And the cleaning. I tell you what, I think all the extra cleaning and the extra washing of the hands and stuff of that nature, I think it really helps because I've noticed. Here's what I've noticed since we started this. I've noticed that there's less infections amongst each other. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't see the coughs and the stuff of that nature. So I thought that's kind of fascinating with the aggressive approach to cleaning the hands and washing more and all that kind of stuff, and cleaning the doorknobs and everything else that you have to do with that aspect. I'm seeing that as far as at our facility, less infections. I'm talking about just because when you're getting off of substances, your immune system is already down, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So all of a sudden we're not seeing those stuff. So we're not seeing a lot of people having to be prescribed antibiotics and stuff. So things of that nature. So I don't know. That's interesting. But I've noticed that as we're here in November, since people are used to the pandemic, when they go to treatment, they don't fight it as much.
Right.
Whereas in March, April, and May, people were not feeling it very well. They
Sure.
weren't into the whole idea of putting that stuff on and protecting themselves. Now it's kind of a custom.
Yeah, now it's kind of commonplace. So
I
Sure.
will say this, that we're seeing a lot more people that had recovery relapse as a result of being isolated over the last 3 or 4 months. So that is something that we kind of knew it was a possibility, but we're starting to see that happen. So hopefully we can get them detoxed, stabilized, and get them back into recovery. So there's lots of challenges in the recovery world too.
Sure.
Not just in the treatment industry, but
well, I know
also
we
just in
got we didn't get to do some of the fun stuff. We didn't get to do the ropes course, which I heard. And actually, honestly, I want to go ahead and, if I can, plug you again and champion Summer Sky again.
Yeah.
But I mean, I honestly, it was like summer camp for me. It was like summer camp with a bunch of drunks trying to get sober or addicts trying to get sober. So I mean, I had a blast, and I mean, hell, I got, two, I think at least two really good friends out of it in, Nolen and Elizabeth. And we, hopefully we'll all be lifelong life partners.
Oh, no. Zero chance at that. I'm actually waiting for you to look the other way, and then I'm out of here.
Right. There you go. But other than that, Scott, I know you got to get, right? You had something to do.
Yeah.
Real work to do, huh?
The ropes course is now being offered again, so we're doing that, and they got the zip line and all that good jazz. So
Cool.
That's all back in play.
And
Yeah,
goat
so a lot of
yoga still
services-
going on? Is goat yoga
Yes,
still?
yes.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, still got the goat yoga.
Nice.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's more like kind of sit on the floor and try not to let the goats crap on you.
I don't know what you think, Scott, but I think a lot of that kind of stuff is just it's just about having fun again.
Oh, yeah.
And laughing.
Having like sober fun.
Yeah, before I came in, I wasn't having a lot of fun or doing a lot of laughing.
Right.
It was good to sort of rekindle that part and realize that, there's fun stuff to do without drinking myself into a stupor.
Well,
but
I do remember when my treatment team suggested the idea of the goat yoga system. I looked at them like, okay, we really lost our minds here,
Right.
Because like we're gonna have little goats come in here, and how's this gonna work?
Oh, and by the way, and the goats are in tutus.
they're pygmy goats in tutus.
Yeah.
And they're precious.
Yeah.
And I should have stolen one.
So
In
I'll never
strollers.
forget the first time I walked around there and I seen them, and then I watched the patient's reactions. And so as each individual was doing their yoga and these goats and how they were interacting with everybody, I was like, oh my gosh, this stuff does actually, the smiles that these folks have on their face is incredible.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow, you caught me off guard. So that
Yeah, right.
obviously, yeah.
I didn't see this one coming. That's funny.
Well, hey, Scott, thanks for coming on. Thanks for spending some time
for
with
sure.
us. Always good to see you. And Summer Sky out in Stephenville, Texas.
And I'm okay to speak about this. I'm currently in IOP, which is intense outpatient therapy, with this man right here. So every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, I'm on and seeing his lovely face.
No, just like I said, thanks for coming on, and more importantly, thanks for helping out crazy people like me and Kelley, because we need it. And
sure.
you know, without a facility like that, or the work that you and your staff have put in, a lot of people would still be either in bondage to alcohol and drugs, or perhaps not even with us anymore. You know, it's a real thing.
Yeah.
And so thanks for what you do. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
Scott, you're doing a good
Thank you.
job. You're doing the Lord's work, brother.
Lord's work.
All right. Well, you guys have a great
Okay.
day.
Yeah, man. We'll talk
Hey,
to you
thanks
soon.
for stopping by, bud.
We'll talk to you soon.
Okay,
All right, bye-bye.
cool. Well, that was good.
Yeah.
That was good. That went well.
Old Scott Kelley.
Yeah,
Old
love
Scott
that.
Kelley.
Love that guy.
No,
I love to get the big book classes, especially like when he gets all deep, and then he'll just go
He
totally
gets-
off subject, and it's just like
He was restrained there, guys.
yeah,
he gets
yeah.
fired up. Well, I mean, really what it is he's happy to be free
oh yeah,
from, you know, the nonsense that was
The
his
bondage.
life beforehand.
Right.
And like he said, I think he enjoys just kind of watching people come back alive, you know. So, but yeah, Scott Kelley out at Summer Sky in
Right.
Stephenville. Both Kelley and I are alumni of that prestigious university.
and I'm expecting my
And-
T-shirt soon, so you know.
You get no T-shirts.
Yeah, I'll get.
I
a
gave
t-shirt.
away my
I'll
one
get a
T-shirt.
T-shirt.
You know what?
Hey, and then I also just wanted to bring up for the show, we have some cool upcoming guests. We actually have Brian Cuban.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a lot of fun. He has a book called The Addicted Lawyer, which is New York Times bestseller. Some of you might know his brother. I don't know. But anyway, he's a cool cat, and he's just a guy going through sobriety, just like the rest of us. So, you know, doesn't matter how many zeros you have in your bank account. I mean, you know, you can be the richest person, you can be the poorest person, but you're still an addict, and,
Yeah.
and you still have to live your life, you know. And
Disease doesn't care much about your status
yeah,
in
exactly.
your own mind or
for
whatever.
For sure.
But I mean, more than anything, you know, this is an issue that is rampant, really, if we're being honest.
No, it touches everybody, and if it doesn't touch you, like I said, if it doesn't touch you directly, it touches somebody in your family.
Somebody
you
in
know?
your family. I mean, most of us have struggled on some level, either watching someone deteriorate or being stuck in it ourselves or wondering what to do about this person or whatever. you know?
Sure. And
so
like
there
I
are
said,
answers
feel
out there,
free,
guys.
but feel free to reach out to us if we can advise. We'll be more than happy to. What else was I going to say? Oh yeah, and then of course we're working on Brandon Novak. I'm going to call him like 9 million times until I'm going to blow him up until he comes on. But he's
What's with us and skateboarders? Huh?
Yeah, I know exactly, dude. Well, hey, man.
I
Yeah.
guess things are going on in the skateboard community. Someone needs to take a look at that.
There you go. And musicians. Oh yeah,
No,
and
musicians are all
DJs,
fine.
And
No.
yeah, they're all put
I've
together.
never met an alcoholic or drug addict musician. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, and then also, you know, if we have Summer Sky on board helping us cover some of production costs. But you know, if anybody's out there, I know Nolen. This is a shout out right here. Nolen is a huge fan of Bang energy drinks, dude. This guy is insane. He knows
I've seen
all the
worse
flavors.
than me. I do know and have drank all the flavors except for one, and I'll find it.
Right.
I know it exists, but I haven't found it yet. But yeah, I generally tank about one of those a day.
Yeah.
And perhaps I've traded one addiction for another.
Well, hey, dude, but
It's
at least
possible.
it's you know.
At least I recognize that's possibly what's going on.
At least you can buy it somewhat legally.
There seem to
and,
be
yeah.
less consequences from drinking one Bang a day
Yeah,
than the
for
$100 on heroin I was spending. But,
Right.
you know, hey.
But yeah, if he, you know, if anybody wants to reach out to us regarding, you know, sponsorship of the show, we're actually getting the website built as we speak, and you know, we'll throw your, you know, your product up there, and we'll have a little sponsorship on the show and whatever, and help us pay for some gas money. So
some gas money and help us get the word out as much as
Oh
we can.
yeah,
to help
for
more
sure.
people,
I mean, because a lot of what I want to do, if there ever is like an excess, I would love to set up something with Scott Kelley about getting people into rehab, but like under like a strict guideline, like they have to be serious about it.
You don't get to go to summer camp for
it's
for
not
free?
just dude, we're gonna give you 30 days, free, but they have to actually want it, and you can pretty much tell that right away. And not everybody can afford rehab, so but there's other alternatives out there as well. So I mean, is there something that you can real quick tell the people, like as far as
I mean, look, so there is help regardless of what's in your bank account, what's on your insurance card, or even if you have one. There are options out there for not just treatment, for outpatient like you were talking about after the fact, I mean, there's just a lot. This has been a disease, according to the AMA and the CDC, for a long time, and it's one that is known to require a lot of help. And so there's a lot of help out there. There are generally free facilities in almost every major city in Texas, and that goes for the rest of the country as well. There are nonprofit facilities. Those are free long-term facilities, short-term. I mean, there's a lot out there.
Right.
If
and they can hit you up direct. And,
they
and
can
you
hit me up direct, and
yeah.
I can point you in the right direction. Too many names to just name here, to be honest with you. But the idea that you need insurance and $20,000 to get treatment is false.
Yeah, I agree.
That may buy you a nicer facility, but whatever that means.
Yeah, right.
I mean, treatment is treatment. But yeah, there's a lot of options out there, and I'm familiar with a good amount of them.
I always say, Nolen is, and let me just tell you real quick why we call him the professor. I love this because we have limited access to the internet at the rehab facility, so it was just like everybody would go, oh well, hey, what about this and so, and I would just go, well, ask the professor. Yeah. So that's kind of how that came about.
Google inside treatment.
Yeah, exactly. I was just like, well, if no one doesn't know, we're just going to have to ask an RA to look it up on their phone.
That's what I'm good at. I have a lot of useless information in my head.
No, you have a a lot of useful information.
I have some information in my head, I guess.
There you go.
But yeah, it's a pet name. Obviously, I don't have any PhDs.
Not yet.
I was busy at the time when everyone else was going to college and learning things.
Sure,
I was very, very busy.
You had your other job of addiction.
I had a lot going on.
Right.
A lot of balls I was juggling at that point. But yeah, back to the thing we were talking about. There's a lot of help out there. I'm familiar with a good amount of it. And then when I'm not familiar, when you get out of my geographical region or out of my head, Scott's absolutely familiar, and about 10 or 20 other people I know that we can get some answers for you. The whole point is to give this thing a shot if you haven't given it a shot before.
Right. And be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
Chances are, if you're thinking about it and it's in the back of your head, you got a problem.
Yeah.
So
I know it was not something I could pull off on my own.
Yeah.
I needed some inpatient
anything.
time. I needed some summer camp time.
Oh yeah, I agree.
To get my mind right, my body right.
So anything else you wanted to shout out or mention before we?
Not really, other than kind of to wrap it up and back to the whole pink cloud thing. For me, things were not going well for quite a long time, and I didn't really have a good solution. I was throwing things at it, coming up with whatever I could. I'm not an evil person. I didn't just want to, particularly hurt everyone around me, but I just didn't have an answer.
Sure.
And
a lot of us don't.
No,
a lot of people don't.
So. And going and seeking the help has given me some answers that I've been searching for a long time.
Well, cool, man.
So I'm just grateful that the help is out there for someone like me personally.
Oh yeah.
And if it can work for this maniac,
I'm
serious about that. If it can work for this maniac, then it can work for anybody.
Right. I agree, dude. I concur, and I am glad you are no longer that maniac. Or you're that maniac in a good way.
There's a lot of people glad about that.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, like maybe your kids.
That's a couple.
Yeah.
They're probably pleased about that.
Well, cool. Well, so we'll just kind of leave you hanging, but we've got some exciting guests. So do me a favor, spread the word as much as you
please.
can on that thing called the interwebs.
On the intranets.
Yeah, and just let them know. And if y'all have questions, hit us up. And I guess we'll catch you next time on thispinkcloud.com.
God bless you guys. Thanks for listening.
Thanks. All right, let's go get a beer.